Welcome to The Homeless Conservative. I'm your host, Blake Fisher. I'm joined again by my friend Mackenzie, who loves Daddy DeSantis. As you may remember if you watched her other episode, you're breaking the trend tonight, Mackenzie, of every female that's been on this so far was wearing a baseball cap when they joined. So,
I'm wearing a top knot, which is like equivalent.
Top knot works.
To a baseball cap.
We wanted to talk about the second debate because the first time we talked was before the first debate, and we are always passing each other, chirping at each other,
screaming
about politics after debates and stuff. I was like, save it. We'll record it. Let's talk about stuff. So I've got clips. I've got notes. You've got notes. And I guess the first thing to know would be, okay, the second one happened. It was last week. We're a little late to getting this. That's fine. Nothing's changed that much. How do you feel overall it was compared to the second? I mean, compared to the first debate?
I thought overall, it was kind of cringe watching the whole time. Like the moderators, I didn't feel like had control.
I did not love the moderating.
It just because all over the place, it just wasn't very good.
Yeah, I mean, what's weird is that I felt like substance was better. Like as far as the answers we got from most of the candidates were much better and more in the realm of like policy differences between them, which is what I want in a Republican debate, because I think it's silly anytime there's a debate and they just chirp at, if it's a Republican debate, they're chirping at the left and vice versa. Because I'm like, yeah, we know you don't like Joe Biden. We get that. That's why you're running for president as a Republican. But like, tell us what the difference between you and the person standing next to you is on this. Like, why should I vote for you instead of them? I know you all are different than Joe Biden. I get that. So I felt like this was better in that regard, because I felt like the first one was a lot more of like rah-rah GOP. And it was like, yeah, we know. That's why we're watching this one. And this one felt like there were better answers. I just don't know that they matter because
they do.
I think they do, but I don't know that the general Republican voter base cares about these issues that they're bringing up, because they're not at the top of their... It doesn't seem like it's at the top of anyone's list, other than when they say they care about the economy. It seems they only care about it because if they think it's not good and you've got a Democratic president, then you're going to complain about it. But I don't think the same would happen if the opposite were the case. If we had, if it was like, let's say this is rewind to 2020, and obviously 2020, you can't count as a normal election because of COVID and all the other stuff that went on, but just pretend that economically things were like not going well and it wasn't because of COVID, and Trump was in the White House. Obviously, people would not care about the economy anymore. So I don't even think the economy, even though I think that is what people care about, I don't think they're listening to any of these answers, because all of these answers are better than anything Trump, who's leading the pack, has said about any of them. Because Trump hasn't talked about an issue since 2020.
Right.
Other than his stolen election stuff, right? So I don't know. What do you think? I mean...
Well, I think it showed, again, that I thought DeSantis was the winner.
I thought he did really good.
Yeah. He did great.
Yeah.
And so it showed again, he sounded presidential.
Yeah.
There were too many people on the stage.
Yeah, totally agree.
And everyone else needs to drop out.
Well, see, I mean,
that's what it showed.
I agree, but I
didn't
disagree about who.
He sounded great. All his answers were great. He's so clearly the pack winner of the people on stage. Like, there were no missteps from him. None of the other candidates stood out. And so I think, again, it showed that we've got to all rally behind DeSantis.
It just felt like it took way too long to get here.
They didn't? Oh, I thought you talked... Do you know that they didn't throw him a question until 20 minutes in?
Yeah, but I mean, that's what you get when you got 7 people on stage.
Blake?
I'm just saying, like, this is like...
A lot of people think that was on purpose.
No, I don't think... I mean, here's the thing. Most people are
the leading candidate, you don't throw him a question until, 15, 20 minutes in?
But they did the opposite, right? On the first one, didn't he get a bunch of the first ones, and then
I thought it was pretty even on the first one.
I didn't see anything about the times and who got what times. And
well, I'm on DeSantis Twitter.
Okay, well that's fine. My thought on that is that I'm sure they're trying to spread it out and not go straight to the two people in the middle first, because then it'll never go anywhere else. So I'm sure they're trying to. First of all, I think I'm going to guess. This is just me. totally guessing. I'm guessing that those moderators and Fox and stuff are going to go, look, we can go to one of the people on the wings and they're going to bring up one of the people in the middle who are going to get to rebut what they said, which he did several times because that's really where he was chiming in a lot, was like coming in after someone's answer.
Because he wasn't getting many questions.
But but he was answering them better sometimes. But what's weird is that, like, why have we not seen this DeSantis until now? I mean, we did used to see this DeSantis, and then he decided that he was going to run for president, and it's like he started, I think everyone does this when they start running for president. They start listening to all these people around him that are telling, oh, you got to say this, you got to do this. And I think he went too hard after Trump's base too early, even like announcing that he was running for president. And I just wish we could have heard more of these answers this whole time. I think he should have been talking like this since last November after he won re-election. I get that you can't like win re-election. It's kind of unfortunate that he has to win re-election 2 years before it'd be more convenient if you were on a, well, I guess not really more convenient because you'd have to give up, but I mean, it's not super convenient that you got to win governor of Florida again.
Right,
and then you can't just immediately jump in, especially in Florida where they had a law that said you can't campaign and serve, and they had to change that law. I just think that he had, a year ago, I was agreeing. I was like, to me, he seems like the most obvious, who else could it be kind of thing, because he's Trumpy enough that I think he can steal some of those people. But he just, I feel like until this debate, he did not have those answers. It felt like he wanted to talk about too much of the like fighting the woke stuff in Florida. And to me, I don't think, I know
he's been talking about COVID every interview that he's been on recently.
Yeah, no, but he wouldn't even do press for the first couple months. He wouldn't do normal
press. He's been doing so much press lately.
I know, but why? You needed to start that in May, or you need to really start it like earlier than that, because Trump announced 6 months before you got in the race. I think, and like, I'm not this is his staff or campaign or whatever. I just don't know that, like, his refusal to go on CNN or any of these places early on, because he was like, oh, you know, the liberal media. I'm like, yeah, they're liberal, but you're good at fighting back at that. Like, he's always been good at that. He was great during COVID, during like all the, like, he'd get a like abrasive kind of question that was not fair, and he'd just go after him and give him the facts. And so I don't know what he was scared of. And it was almost like he wanted to plant his flag, you know, and kind of say, well, screw you guys. But like, he needs them more than they need him. As far as like, they're talking about Trump if they want ratings, but he needs them because he, like, if your plan is to get the nomination, you have to speak to the people that watch those channels.
But he has been, Blake, and things have been changed. For the past, I would say for the past couple months, he has.
Yeah, no, yeah, but like
But Blake, it's not changing anything. That's what I'm saying. So like, he can't win what he did. Like, everyone's like, you need to do this. He is doing everything.
But I think he should have done some of that stuff earlier.
Do you think it would have made a difference?
We would at least, like, I think it would have been a better choice. It might not have made a difference. You're right. And I think you're probably right that it wouldn't have, because I think Trump's indictments have been more of a wind in the sails of him than anything that anyone else is going to do, because that's what the news cycle, that's what tends to be bumping these polls, is like Trump gets an indictment, there's a bump, or the Mar-a-Lago raid.
Right.
There's like all these things tend to be, which is so funny to me, because to me, I just go, clearly no one's paying attention to the issues or any of this stuff. And so it's interesting that we got a debate that I felt like it was more substantive with issues and good arguments between people too. Like, I think there were some good back and forths of, you know.
Between who?
Well, I mean, just in general, like, I mean, not all of them, but, you know, there were good discussions of like, hey, here's what's wrong with healthcare, and then someone else chiming in going, yeah, well, here's really the problem. Like, you can talk about that, but, you know, we've got some clips that I can show. But I just wonder if, I think you're right. Maybe it wouldn't have made a difference at all if he would have done it earlier. I just wish that people stopped. I feel like he stopped being who he was because he was going to run for president. And I feel like people pay attention to that, and my theory is that it turns people off when you get the kind of robot presidential candidate. And he was kind of doing that for a little bit, basically for the first half of this year. I felt like everything he was doing in Florida felt like it was, you know, like I said, going after Disney or going after this. It was like this culture war stuff. And he felt very online Twittery, Whereas, like, I think most people in Florida reelected him because, like, their lives were better than they were before. You know, it's like economically or education or criminal justice or whatever it was. Because he did rattle off a ton of, almost every answer. He was like, yeah, we did that in Florida.
Yeah, he really hammered at this debate. Like, I've done it. Like, you're talking about it, I've done it.
Yeah,
and I thought that was great.
Which is why we've talked about this before. But I mean, I think we need a governor as the next president, because we've had several people that don't have any executive experience. I mean, it's been since 2008 when George W. Bush left that we've had someone with previous executive experience in the White House. And I think it shows, because I think that Obama had a ton of like on the job training.
Yeah.
Because you can't come from being a senator for a couple years and then know what you're doing.
City planner, then a senator.
Yeah, and then same thing with Biden, senator for forever. You know, Trump, no experience whatsoever. And so I do think the governors are doing better than we've got a lot of governors in this field, but it does feel like every answer was like, yeah, I did that in Florida, and it seemed like that would have normally been like slam dunk, right? I mean, like 20 years ago, that would have been. I don't know how you can compete with that, because it wouldn't be like, oh, I'm gonna do this. It's like, hey, I've just done this in one of the most populous states in the country. Because, like, no offense to Doug Burnham, he has great answers, but he's also the governor of North Dakota. It's not the same thing as Florida.
He should not have been on that debate stage.
Although he had great answers, but he shouldn't be there anymore.
But his interrupting, I thought, was like a turnoff, and like.
Well, there was a lot of interrupting going on. The moderators lost total control.
They should have had control to like mute the mics.
Okay, you want to know my dream debate format?
The Univision.
She was terrible.
Horrible. I couldn't even understand sometimes what she was saying, and I thought the candidates had sometimes a hard time understanding what she was saying.
Well, I think they couldn't actually hear her. I think you could tell that, like, because that is like not a room meant for speakers and microphones to be in.
Did you not have a hard time sometimes understanding her questions?
Well, yeah, but I could specifically tell they couldn't hear her because they were like leaning in and going, I can't, like Christy several times was like, I cannot hear what you're saying. Because either if other people were talking next to him, I'm sure that place is like a giant glass box. And she was asking terrible questions.
Okay, so why do you think Fox let her?
Well,
moderate?
This is just one of those things where, I know that.
It was a big mistake from Fox.
Especially this early in it. I mean, well, but they've done the same thing before. I'm pretty sure
No. They've never had a Univision.
I am almost for sure they did.
At a debate to moderate it, but I do not remember that. I'm almost for
sure in 2016. Well, it didn't happen in 2020.
I mean, in 2016.
I'm almost for sure it happened, and now we're gonna have to look it up. Okay, let's look it up. Hold on.
If you remember that with Trump, they would have hammered him, and I don't remember that. Like, I remember Megyn Kelly hosting a debate, Brett Baer, and they were all great.
I swear this has happened before. From
Fox?
It wasn't Fox. It was the Democratic one.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. Like, why would you let that happen at a Republican debate? Like, well, I mean, I put that on Fox and I put that on the RNC.
But they're going for. Here's the thing.
Her questions were
bad.
Horrible.
They shouldn't have allowed her to ask those questions. She was like trying to like push the whole thing left, which was really weird.
Yes,
for a
that's
Republican
what I'm saying.
Debate.
Like, they shouldn't have let that happen.
And if it was the actual Democrat versus Republican debate, I'm more okay with it.
Yeah, same. But this isn't that. We have control over that.
Yeah. I think, her questions were bad. I think that the moderators had like no control over the whole situation.
No control.
My dream debate format is like a few things. One, mute buttons.
Yeah.
I want to be a host and I want to be able to be like what's that show? What's the ESPN show? Like Around the Horn, where you can just like eject people, give them points or whatever. That would be great. I'd also like to have on the chyron at the bottom the question that was asked.
Oh, that's
so that the whole time the person's not answering that question,
people can see.
I, as the host, can mute your mic and be like, "Sorry, you're not answering the question." Because I hate and I'm gonna dog on DeSantis a little bit here. He dodges stuff all the time, or it's not even dodging. It's like,
give me an example.
Well, okay, I'll try. I probably didn't do a clip. There was one where like he got asked the question, and clearly he just had something else he wanted to say, so he didn't answer the question.
Was it from the Univision lady?
No, it was just one where he wanted to talk about one of the other things that someone had asked earlier.
Because he has so many accomplishments,
right?
Like,
so I just wish that they'd be like, that's not what I asked you. I don't mind them coming back. And I'm like, I liked that late in the debate when they asked like the worst question ever. Who are you going to vote off the island?
That was a great moment. By
I liked
DeSantis.
that they were like, no, we're not doing this.
You mean DeSantis?
Well, he started it, but they were all like, we're not doing this.
They were all like about to. And then DeSantis, they're like, oh yeah, no.
No, that was
Again,
a terrible question.
Leadership shown.
Terrible question.
Horrible question. And I love Dana. I mean, I don't know if that was, she wrote that question, but
I like her too, but I don't.
Fox should have, what has happened to Fox?
Well, what's happened to any of this stuff is that here's what's really dumb about it is that really, I guess debates used to be like, now it's like, okay, Fox is doing it and it's in partnership with whatever, Univision in this case, but it's like Fox and the RNC are in charge of it.
Yeah.
I think that's a bad idea to have the party involved at all in it, other than saying like,
well, they have to make rules of who can
but
be on the debate stage
that should be the end of it, because what the problem is my guess is, no idea, I'm guessing Fox is obviously reeling from all of the crap they've gone through for the last 4 years, right? Which is fine with me. I think they deserve it, but they're trying to keep viewers. That's really their entire game, is to have viewers, okay, eyeballs in front of them. They're not going to ask, really, they don't want to piss off, they can't ask certain questions, especially about Trump. So I think their goal was like, hey, we will try not to bring it up, but that way, but the candidates will. We'll ask questions that make them bring it up. So they're the bad guy, we're not the bad guys. And the GOP is kind of feeling the same way, I'm sure. Like, they're trying to like do this delicate tightrope act, but I think it's just foolish, because you end up making enemies of viewers or whatever, because if
me
or you or whoever, like, and so I think no one's happy in the end of it, because like if you
Trump now is calling for an end to debates.
Yeah, and to be fair, it's crazy to me that he did not get brought up as like at all, basically.
I thought Christie and DeSantis.
No, they did. Yeah. But like by the moderators.
By the moderators.
Moderators basically didn't bring them up.
People are saying that Fox is in it for Trump, and that's why they didn't throw DeSantis
I don't believe
a question
that.
for the 20 minutes.
Murdoch's like out on Trump. Like what? Look
that's
at
what Twitter says.
Yeah, but that's not right. It's not. They might not be trying to piss off his viewers, like the people that they want eyeballs, but no, I mean they're done with. I mean you look at New York Post and what they're running now. It's not. I know, Trump friendly.
You watch the 5. Trump.
Well, yeah, some of those shows are going to be.
That's what I mean. Like, it's pretty Trump heavy.
Yeah, but that's not. It's. Now I don't watch most of any but. I mean, I know at one point Murdoch was like, we're done.
No,
like we're done with him, and gave an editorial direction of like, you look at like what the New York Post is doing now, and obviously the Post is different than, you've got a lot more editorial control at the top of a newspaper or magazine than you do like at Fox News, because at Fox News you've got some serious butting of heads between like opinion and news and stuff. So I don't know, it felt weird to me that I was like, oh, I like these answers better, but the format is bad. Having 7 people on stage is bad.
Yeah, 7 people on stage should have been trimmed down.
Oh, and the other thing, no audience. No, there should not be audiences at these debates. It is it's a bad vibe, because the cheering and the booing.
I kind of like that.
See, I don't, because I think that, and here's me having been to an actual debate, not a presidential one, like a local one. The problem is they'll be like, hey, please be quiet and respectful while people are answering questions.
Right.
And you can politely clap at the end. Well, do you know who doesn't do that? Like people that are enthusiastic one way or another.
Right.
So it will sound like a bunch of people are booing or a bunch of people are cheering. And maybe it's like actually a perfect analogy to our politics right now. It might be 10% of the audience that's actually making all that noise. But on television, it's perceived differently. And I don't like that we're letting, I don't know, a few hundred people in Southern California like dictate what viewers will feel about someone's answer based on them like booing or cheering it, when it might not even be the whole audience that's booing or cheering. Most people might just be sitting there politely like listening.
Right. But I never noticed any, like, I thought they booed and cheered pretty much at the right. Like, and they gave awkward silences to win.
Yeah.
Then when like Pence kind of tried to land jokes, there were, and like those were deserved.
Right, but what I don't like is them trying to land jokes with an audience. Like, there's in no way does that translate to like you being president. If you like, you should be able to be funny without the audience, in my opinion, like on a one-on-one thing. And people that are, you know, like you could watch a 60 Minutes interview, and if someone's funny, you're still going to laugh.
Right.
So
I don't know. It would be interesting without an audience.
I really think that at this point, this format is kind of done, especially if you've got 7 people on stage.
Yeah.
It feels tired, and it feels...
Oh, cringe. It was cringe.
There were some really bad parts,
Yeah.
Especially, and like I said, don't you think all the cringe parts were, you knew they rehearsed that?
Oh, yeah. Very, very rehearsed. Yeah.
And
the Donald Duck.
In everything before, I've got that clip. We're going to do it in a second.
I knew you would.
Because everything before that, when he said, was good. In fact, okay, I think this is it.
Christie is good at debates.
Yeah, he is. Okay, let's actually go to a clip. So this is Christie. So this was he specifically what he's talking about was government spending. And actually, I think Christie's like overall, he's so good at debating.
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't think he has a shot, unfortunately. But I actually think he would be the best of that entire field at, when people say they want a fighter, I'm like, he's kind of perfect, but you don't really want a fighter. You just want Trump. You're just saying you want a fighter, but you don't really, because I don't like, he's a better fighter than Trump is. He's been a prosecutor and stuff and a governor. And I feel like he's got a governor of a blue state at that,
right,
which I think is impressive. Because I mean, Florida is not purple anymore. Florida's red.
Thanks to DeSantis.
Well, before the Bush too. Jeb had a lot to do.
Jeb, turned that state from purple to red.
It hasn't been purple in a long time.
But like, he narrowly won the governorship the last term, and then did you see the last section? That is all DeSantis.
Hold on.
Against purple Andrew Gillum.
Purple nationally is what I'm talking about. Purple nationally. It wasn't even a swing state by the time Obama was running. From Bush to from 2000 2008. 2008 was because McCain won it, right? I think. Okay, I'd have to go back and fact check myself there.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm just saying, I think it's more. You got more fighting than Florida's been turning red like Ohio since 2000, essentially, and I'm just saying. I'd like Christie's. Anyway, let's go to Christie's answer. We'll do that. Okay.
Voters should blame everybody who's in Washington, D.C. They get sent down there to do the job, and they've been failing at doing the job for a very long time. And let's be honest about this with the voters. You know, during the Trump administration, they added $7 trillion. $7 trillion in national debt. And now the Biden administration has put another $5 trillion on and counting. They have failed, and they're in the spot they're in now because none of them are willing to tell the truth. None of them are willing to take on the difficult issues. They just want to keep kicking the can down the road. And the inflation that Nikki spoke about is absolutely right, and it's caused by government spending.
Okay, it's a different clip than I was talking about. But I did like this answer because it feels like the thing that, Biden and Trump have both decided it's not a problem.
Right.
The national debt's not a problem. They're not going to talk about it. They're not going to talk about solutions to it. I mean, really, both sides are not talking about it. Really, there's only 2 people on even this stage that are really talking about solutions to it. Too. 2 or 3 people. And to me, it's the most obvious problem that we've got coming down the pike. But certainly someone that's 81 years old doesn't care if we're $33 trillion in debt. They're going to be dead by the time we have to do entitlement reform or something. So I thought that was a good answer. But again, does anyone care that both sides are to blame? I just thought it was a good point that
I thought
Trump
it was a good point
$7 trillion.
I thought it was a good point that he pointed out Trump, and I think DeSantis in another segment pointed that out too. They're at least going back and talking about bringing up Trump, since again the moderators aren't,
right,
and talking about his record.
But again, why now? Why is it October? Or this is end of September. Why is that the first time that Ron DeSantis specifically started going after Trump the way he did? Because he is not before that. And I think it's a mistake. What I think.
Because I think he thought that he could still get some of the Trump voters. And now it's they're gone. Forget them, hammer Trump, and try and get all the other support once the other candidates drop out.
But I feel like you needed to start that so long ago, and I feel like it's too little too late. I wish he would have been saying this stuff about Trump in November of last year, or heck, before that. He should have been saying this since January of 2021. He should have been like, hey, Trump lost.
I feel like it's not like he has never said that. He has said that. I have heard him say
Well,
that.
I mean, here's the reason I can tell he's not. So I saw a great ad, not a great ad. I saw an ad of his the other day.
Yeah.
And so we're already starting to get political ads. And it was like one did have you seen this one? It's like
Yeah,
one
yeah.
served it, one didn't. One, but it's not naming the other person.
Yeah, I know.
But it's alluding to sort of Trump the whole time. But then it cops out at the end by saying the other person's Biden, as if Ron DeSantis is running against Joe Biden right now.
Yeah,
It's
it should be
delusional that he thinks he's running against Joe Biden right now. He's not. He's running against Trump.
No, I know.
And the commercial would have worked if he would have said it was Trump, because all those things were also true about Trump. He didn't serve in the military. He all these things that he ends up being.
I know, but
about
maybe
Biden.
it is that you think it's Trump the whole time. And you're like, oh, that it could be Trump though.
Right, but to put Biden in the commercial
Yeah.
at all is like,
Yeah,
who
I know.
do you? I mean, and
Well,
that's
he
where I think
just,
his campaign's bad.
He just asked Trump to debate, like a one-on-one debate. Like he is hammering Trump in answers.
No, but he should be. And I wish all of them would have been doing this for the last year. I wish every Republican in Congress that hates Trump behind his back, but then in the public says they like him. I wish if everyone just would have been honest since November of 2020, I don't think we'd be in the situation we're in.
Blake, agree. In fact, I think I
Right?
told you, if Trump becomes the nom and then inevitably loses, I will hammer every conservative voice online that didn't speak out.
And like I said,
Losers.
and if you are
Losers.
if you authentically like Trump, I don't understand, but fine. But I think there's a lot of people.
But
the
Blake, if
GOP
you're
that
a
don't.
true conservative,
Yeah.
then you don't.
I agree.
And so
But we can't even define conservative anymore because
they
it just-
enrage me.
I agree, and I think that instead of doing the right thing, what really bothers me about it is that there's constant excuse making. So in January of 2020, well, forget that. I mean, go back to the election. It was like, well, let's let voters decide, and then it was like, well, the voters didn't really decide. Then they get to pretend that the election was stolen. It was not stolen, okay? And then in January, when they had the chance to impeach and remove him, they go, well, we should let the criminal justice system decide. We don't feel like we should be the people that do this. Well, then indictments come around. They're like, how dare the Justice Department go after a guy? Well, it's like you passed the buck to them. You literally said, let the voters decide. And then you said, actually, and then the senator's like, no, let's let the Justice Department decide. Let's let, Well, they just keep, there's no excuse. It's like everything is like, they're just passing the buck to the next thing. So now they're back to saying, let the voters decide. And so it's this weird cycle where it's like, yeah, but he's just going to say that it was rigged again. You know what's going to happen.
I know. It's such a car crash. I'm like, please everyone drop out and get behind DeSantis. Please. That's the only chance.
Well, I mean, everyone's got to drop out and get behind someone. We'll talk later about, we'll just disagree on maybe who that should be.
There's no one else. Are you talking about Nikki Haley?
I think it could be Haley.
Oh my gosh, Blake, you're delusional.
No, I don't think so.
Blake, she's behind DeSantis nationally in the polls.
But she's been rising and he's been lowering.
Lord help me.
Now, I don't care
Blake,
about nationally,
you
really.
watched that debate and you thought out of those people, Nikki Haley was more of a leader and presidential than DeSantis? Please.
I don't want to say more. I think that he did really great in this debate specifically. So did she. I think they both did. I think he did much better this debate than the first one. It's not that he did terribly the first time.
Who won this debate? DeSantis. Clear winner.
I think DeSantis and Haley.
Blake?
I really do. I think, look, and I'm also looking at...
most people thought DeSantis did.
And I'm looking at polling in those specific early states where I think she has an advantage over him. And I think that it's going to require someone to win those first few states to snowball into a situation where they can actually beat Trump. And I don't think he's doing well enough in Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina.
He is doing well in Iowa.
Well, but he's not.
He's doing better than she is. Much better.
But hasn't he been lowering? I haven't looked at the polls this week, so you could be totally right about this.
I think Trump is still at 40. Yeah, no. DeSantis' shot. Our shot is for him to win Iowa. That is his only shot, and then from there he can win other states.
Someone need.
Haley's in I think single digits in Iowa.
But she has been climbing, and she's been climbing on donors too. And so I'm just saying, it's whoever has the momentum. I don't care who it is. I really don't.
I don't see momentum for Haley. anywhere.
But she's had it since the first debate, and I feel like I've not looked at numbers since. So everyone has to release their quarterly stuff October 15th. So I think we'll know more then. Like, who's got money, who doesn't have money, who's running out. Because if you're running out of money, you just got to get out, I think.
Tim Scott, you got to get out.
Although I think Tim Scott maybe has more money than anyone.
Because of
his Senate race.
Right,
but I still think I like Tim Scott a lot.
Like, save your reputation and drop out Tim Scott.
Well, but I really think they all have to do it together.
For the good of this country.
Like, I really think what has to happen is, like, Chris Christie.
Like, how is this not a national conversation with Republicans?
I think because they're just so scared to death of, but like, well, okay, let's just talk about this now. Okay, so mathematically, Trump has obviously like got 50, 60%.
40, Blake.
You know. Well, I know, but it depends where you look. And again,
40, Blake.
When people look at national polls, I don't like that.
I'm not looking at national polls. I'm telling you 40.
Yeah. But it's really even less than that. So there's basically if you break down when people ask like, hey, like, how do you feel about Trump specifically? Mm-hmm. There's like 25% of the Republican base that is like, I will vote for no one else. I will not vote if he's not the nominee, blah, 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 all that
Losers.
stuff. Right. Okay. Well, I mean, you know, I'll refrain from name calling, but I don't understand
losers
why you would have that mentality unless you just want to lose.
Delusional.
And so in that case, loser is applicable because it's almost like losing is the badge of honor that proves that they fought. Because if you won, you're deep state or something. I mean, it's delusional. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, so 25%.
Okay.
Then there's like 15% that are the opposite of that. Like, I will never vote for Trump. Okay.
Right.
Then there's like, let's see, I think it's 20% that is post-Trump. They like Trump, they voted for Trump, but they think it's too much now. It's time to move on. He's unelectable.
Sane people.
Right. And so that's like a really gettable group of who I'm sure DeSantis thought, oh, I can get those people.
Right.
And that would make sense electorally. And then there's whatever. Then the math is like 30, 40% that's like somewhere else other than those three camps. Well, obviously the post-Trump and the never-Trump add up to 35%, whereas like, 27% is the hardcore. Well, that's already outweighed. So all you have to do, in my opinion, is only have one person running against Trump.
Yes.
But I think it's going to take all of them to get together. And I think maybe post-Thanksgiving, that's when this happens, is like...
Thanksgiving miracle.
Someone has to go, but like, here's the thing. I believe Mike
Pence would because he loves this
Pence
country.
Would. I think Pence is almost out anyway. I think Chris Christie would be the person that rallied it to happen, potentially.
Maybe. He was just interviewed and they asked, would you drop out if you're losing in New Hampshire? And he said no.
Well, he has to. Everyone, they're all going to say that now. They all have to say that kind of stuff now.
Okay, so Christie rallies. Okay.
I think Christie can be the one that rallies everyone because he's the one that's been the most vocal about how dangerous Trump is. Everyone else is just running against him for some other reason.
Right.
Like, DeSantis is trying to say I'm better than Trump without saying that Trump would be a disaster. But I think everyone has to come out and say, no, like,
he'll be a disaster and he'll lose.
For Trump to be talking about if you reelect Biden, it's going to be the end of America is hyperbolic when he would potentially he's the only one that's called for suspending the Constitution. He's the only one that's called for ex-generals to be executed, right. Which is ridiculous. I mean, this stuff is crazy stuff, right? I know, and I know you know this, but to me, most Americans do not know this stuff. And I don't even think most Trump supporters do because they are so in the weeds of their little filter bubble that I don't think they know this stuff happened.
No, if you're not online, then
you're
not really online.
You've got to, but when to me, when you look at the stuff that Trump has said, and if that can't, which is like totally antithetical to American and constitutionalism, all this kind of stuff, and they don't care, then you just have to write them off. And I think what's the problem has been is that all these other people on stage have been trying to win those people back. And I think it's like some writers have said it's like a hostage situation. Basically, Trump and that portion of the GOP is like, you don't care. We'll kill the hostage. And everyone else has to be willing to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And they're not right now because they're still trying to like cling to, I don't know, their future political hopes and stuff. I think if you really want to be a leader, I think you've got to go, this is dangerous. We're all going to get behind one person. Like I said, I don't care if that person, I mean, it can't be Doug Burnham, but I don't care if it is. I don't care who it is. It needs to be one person. But to me, the only two...
It's DeSantis.
The two realistic people are DeSantis and Haley. I think it's...
DeSantis a far away, and then Haley.
Here's the only reason I think that DeSantis...
Blake, there's no way in this world that DeSantis is going to step up and step behind and be like, yeah, well, I'll get behind you.
Here's the...
Haley.
I want to see more swinging at Trump before I would...
That's all he's been doing lately, Blake. Did you see him on Bill Maher?
No, I didn't, but I need to watch it. But I want to see more...
He's asked Trump to a debate, like, what more can the man do? You people are asking too much of him.
I don't think
You are, Blake. Like, he was a great governor.
I know, I agree.
He's doing everything that Republicans want. Like, he would be a great president. Like, quit asking too much of the man.
All I'm saying is electorally, I think that he rubs some people as too Trumpy, and I don't know. I think there's going to be a certain number of people that are going to go, well, why would I vote for Diet Coke when I can just have Coke?
I know, but...
in the primary.
But you look at Trump, they're such two totally different people.
I know, but you got to understand, like, most GOP primary voters are not paying attention like you are.
With my eyes, are they blind? You can see with your eyes, Blake.
I agree, but I have a bad feeling about the way he can shed off the Trumps. Like, I don't know how well he can take the attacks from Trump directly if they were really the only two people in the race. And if you notice,
I think he would, because they're not true. Like,
yeah,
how can you fight lie? You know what I mean? Like,
well, I mean, but
his stuff on COVID, he said. He's been saying, like,
oh, I know.
Trump's been saying this to me about COVID. Like, you're going to elect this man. You want this man who's saying that I performed bad on COVID.
Yeah. His best answer has been, like, he lives in Florida. Like, if he really, if it's
right,
so
totally,
bad, like,
yes.
why do you live in Florida? Yeah. Speaking of wrong, okay, so let's go to a good answer from Ron. This is
let's go to Daddy DeSantis.
Some of the actual context and the things that were going on about CCP purchasing up, kind of partnering with Latin America. Here we go.
They signed strategic partnerships with 7 countries, including Mexico. And China's military ties to the region now include arms sales and training exercises. Are you comfortable with China deepening ties with our southern neighbors?
Of course not. And the reason why we're in this mess is because elites in D.C. for far too long have chosen surrender over strength when it comes to the CCP. Some people in our country got rich, our industrial base got hollowed out, and they have been able to build the second most powerful military in the entire world. We need a totally new approach to China. We are going to have real hard power in the Indo-Pacific, like Reagan, to deter their ambitions. We're going to have economic independence from China, where we're decoupling our economy, and we are going to go after the cultural power they have in this country. As governor of Florida, I banned the CCP from buying land in our state. We should do that all across these United States. We shouldn't have them in our universities. We shouldn't have Confucius Institutes. So you see a country in decline, our power's in decline. China's going to surpass us this decade, and if they do that, that's going to affect every single American household. As your president, I am not going to let that happen. I'm going to reverse this country's decline. We are going to choose strength, not surrender, when it comes to the CCP.
Ooh,
so I think this is a great answer. And
Blake,
it matters a lot,
great
right?
Answer. That's the thing. He shines at policy. He's so good talking about policy. Like, and he's great at debates.
And it's specifically interesting to me because normally when it comes to foreign policy, governors don't have any kind of experience. But because, China is an interesting geopolitical situation, like with the economic ties, with COVID happening, with like him mentioning them banning them, like purchasing land businesses and getting out of universities and stuff like that. It's a good answer. I unfortunately don't know that people care enough, which is scary to me, that people don't seem to care about the things that could most like are the most dangerous possible situations. But I thought it was a really good answer, and I
did too.
Think that he
do you have the clip of Nikki Haley talking about TikTok? Because that's, again, I didn't think she sounded
I do. Yeah. Okay. Let's go to a couple dumb ones. Okay. So here's Vivek. First of all, we got to at least talk for 1 second about Vivek.
So Vivek obviously got feedback that he needed to be nicer, or like that people didn't like.
People didn't like him.
Right.
He thought he was like attack dog in the first one, and people were just like, "You're obnoxious."
Right. So he completely changed, and like I didn't even, not even an afterthought. Like he was really forgettable.
Well, and but he still tried to say stuff that was like,
he needs to drop out.
I agree. But he's the one that I'm worried about.
Oh,
and the reason I want to bring is because I don't think he cares enough about
the country. No.
Because if he really did, and like I said, I know this is a hypothetical situation. I realize this is probably not going to happen, that everyone's going to rally around one person.
Please,
I would love for it to happen. But I think he would be one of those people that would stick around. Now, fortunately.
Okay, but if one person sticks around, that's fine.
No, I don't think it is. I think mathematically.
If he's in single digits.
Well, but you got to think my problem is that pie, if Trump's got 25% of it, and that's all he needs is 33% of it, and he's going to get that 7% to get over that. And all you need is a plurality. You don't have to have a majority. So it cannot be. My point is there is 25% that he's got baked, 27% that he's got baked in. He does not need, if any two other people are running against him, Trump will not lose. So it has to be one. So now you're right. It could be if he really stayed, if he got poisonous enough that he was like 3% and Trump and whoever else were splitting it. It's just not very realistic, because what happened in 2016 is that you had Cruz and Rubio and Kasich, who were all splitting the lanes, and it's more likely that it's going to be like someone picking between Haley and DeSantis, and that's, we can't have it. Like, we just can't, like,
no, they've got to come together.
I agree, or announce that you're running together or whatever. I mean, do whatever you got to do.
A great Veep.
Or announce all the cabinet positions of everyone on stage.
Love Christie,
whatever,
yes.
Go for it. Get them all in there.
Attorney General.
And, like, we are going to be like the Captain Planet. I don't know, like with our powers combined or something. I don't know. It could work. But anyway, here's the Vivek clip that he really didn't have anything. I don't. No, think
I thought he was forgettable.
But I did want to bring this up just because it kind of bothered me, and I have to call it out. So here you go.
But I do go a step further. You're right about that, Ilya. I favor ending birthright citizenship for the kids of illegal immigrants in this country. Now, the left will howl about the Constitution and the 14th Amendment. The difference between me and them is I've actually read the 14th Amendment.
So have I, and he's wrong about this. This has been decided, and what's really funny about it is that his dad is not a United States citizen, which would mean he would not be a citizen. He's this is such a silly thing to bring up.
I thought it was silly as well. And I think he thought it would really land.
Well, it's also so stupid because, like, even economically, like, we need more babies in this country. Like, I don't really care if it's a baby from an illegal immigrant or not. Like, we need more citizens. We need a workforce. We're going to need people to take care of retiring people. And
and out of all of, the problems we have with migrants, it's like the border would be like talk about the border. Like, what he's talking about is like 20 steps down that, like, we don't need to worry about.
And what's so silly about it is that, like, this still doesn't solve the immigration problem. Like, still doesn't. Like, they talked a lot about immigration, is that, like, you really, and the truth is, immigration, like the debt, is something that really no one wants to do anything about. Even these Republicans, because even if they have the House, Senate, and the White House in 2024, I promise you nothing will get done on immigration, because that's just how it goes. But anyway, I think Vivek really didn't have anything kind of going, this is Christie's lame.
I don't know if I can hear it, Blake. Is this the duck?
It is, but here's the thing. The first part of it was great.
Yeah, no,
and then it just was so bad at the end. Anyway, here's Christie's thing. And Christie's better unrehearsed. Totally. He's also better.
He's better off the cuff.
He's also better when the person is in the room, which Trump is not. Yeah,
Christie is funny.
He is funny
and, like, super likable.
I agree. Here we go. Here's the clip of the bad Donald Duck line.
Well, look, Dana, I'm the only one on this stage who's done it. For 7 years, I ran the 5th largest office in this country. At the U.S. Attorney's Office in New Jersey, and we set records for the number of prosecutions that we brought that still have not been broken. And the reason was that we went after the crime that was affecting people's lives. And as president, I will appoint an attorney general and instruct that attorney general that you are to put all the resources that are necessary to bring our cities back under control. The fact is, they will be stretched. There's no doubt about that, but that's what they take the job for, because they love the idea of enforcing the law. We've got to bring law and order back to this country, and not just in our cities, but we need law and order back everywhere. We need law and order back in our suburbs. People are threatened there. We need it in our rural areas. People feel threatened there. And we need it in Washington, D.C. also. And Donald Trump should be here to answer for that, but he's not. And I want to look at that camera right now and tell you, Donald, I know you're watching. You can't help yourself. I know you're watching.
I thought that was great.
And you're not here tonight, not because of polls and not because of your indictments. You're not here tonight because you're afraid of being on the stage and defending your record. You're ducking these things. And let me tell you what's going to happen. You keep doing that, no one up here is going to call you Donald Trump anymore. We're going to call you Donald Duck.
He could have just ended it on the "you're ducking these things."
Yeah, I know. I think he thought I was going to stick.
The only thing Trump is good at is giving people nicknames.
I know.
Okay, don't try to give Trump a nickname, or if you're gonna give him one, give him something better than Donald Duck.
But it was great all the way. Like I loved his answer.
The rest of it was great. In fact, I love the talking about crime.
Yeah.
Right now, everyone's talking about Los Angeles and Portland and San
Right.
Francisco. It's happening
everywhere,
not just in the big cities. It's happening in suburbs. It's happening in small towns. Like, crime has risen, murder rates have gone up, violent crime has gone up. It's not exclusively these big city things. And I like that his answer was like, hey, this is actually happening all over the place. And this is where I'm like, God, if like Christie in a different package would, it's not like I think he would be bad. It's just like, I think that, you know, there's too much bad taste in people's mouth from
either people like Christie or they hate Christie. And
Well,
a lot of people don't like Christie.
And some people have gone back and forth on that train because, like, I'm pretty mad at Christie for basically helping Trump win in 2016.
Right.
You know, his little hostage situation where it looked like
he might do that again.
I don't think. I hope.
I hope not too.
As much as he's going after him, I hope that like he really would be the person that says like, "Hey, everyone else needs to get out of this, or we're gonna hand it to Trump."
Right.
And that's dangerous. But I like that he's calling him out. He's good at that. He's better at it when he's actually, if Trump was actually there. And I think that's actually who Trump's scared of being on stage with.
Oh, totally.
Here's my prediction. If Christie dropped out tomorrow, Trump would maybe do the November debate.
Really?
I think that's who he's scared of.
I don't think he's going to. I think he's scared of everything.
Well, and to be fair, when you have that kind of lead,
yeah,
I don't know that
like,
you need the debate.
There's no downside to him
No.
not debating, so like why debate? Like,
but the
answer would be for the American people, but he doesn't care.
There could be. I mean, like, if you got in a situation where, let's say you had Haley and DeSantis up there, just the two of them. Let's just say the field cleared by November, and you had just the two of them. You could have a better formidable debate, and they really like went after him a ton. Maybe you do have something to lose at that point. Maybe if the field narrows enough, like, this is me being optimistic, obviously, but I don't think that we're really going to have two people on the debate stage in November. I do think there should be only three. Totally. 4 tops.
3, please.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't looked at any of the numbers because I don't know that they really matter, but I think the only. But I would watch Christie, Haley, and DeSantis. I think that'd be good.
Yeah, I would too. It would be better.
Yeah,
it would be better than this.
I agree. I just don't think we can do it. But yeah, the nickname thing did not work for sure. This is Ron DeSantis' answer on crime, which I thought was also good.
Well, the crime in these cities is one of the strongest signs of the decaying of America. We can't be successful as a country if people aren't even safe to live in places like Los Angeles and San Francisco. Just being in Southern California over the last couple of days, my wife and I have met 3 people who have been mugged on the street, and that would have never happened 10 or 20 years ago. In Florida, we back the blue. We support the men and women of law enforcement. They are keeping us safe. We have a 50-year low in the crime rate. And yes, when I had 2 progressive prosecutors that weren't following the law in Florida, I removed them from their posts, and the people of Florida are safer as a result of it. As president, I will use the Justice Department to bring civil rights cases against all of those left-wing Soros-funded prosecutors. We're not going to let them get away with it anymore. We want to reverse this country's decline. We need to choose law and order over rioting and disorder.
He's so good.
I thought it was a good answer.
Great answer.
I do wonder.
Like.
No, like. I I think he could have done. It was a good answer. I just wonder if you like. Again, I liked Christie's a little bit better just because instead of just like singling out Los Angeles and San Francisco, which is like not that. Who cares if you don't live in those two cities? It still seems like. I think there's not enough talk about like what the actual problem, like what the real problem is. Which I mean, he's sort of landed on it, which is they're not prosecuting people in those places, but that's not entirely. There are other weird social things going on too, and it's not just like DA stuff. Was it this one or the other one where he talked about basically like firing the like
removing
them,
Soros-backed DAs.
Yeah, and so like I think that he should have talked more. I would like to hear him talk more about that because I think that kind of stuff. A lot of these situations, they ask him a question. They're like, "What would you do as president?" And I wish more people would say. That's not the president can't do anything about a DA in San Francisco. Like that's up to the people of San Francisco to like hire someone else. Like,
right.
I wish there was a little bit more of that with everyone, just to be a little more honest about what the president can and can't do. I feel like we still get into a situation where people running for president promise way too much, and I do think he didn't like go that far in this case or whatever, but because he was saying, "Hey, I fired," but like. Yeah, he can only fire federal prosecutors, and federal prosecutors aren't our problem necessarily right now.
Right.
For the most part, they are continuing to prosecute crimes, and they don't prosecute stuff like freaking petty theft and stuff. There's no like the larceny that's going on. That's not a federal crime. Like no one's going. The Justice Department's not going after looters in Chicago or something like that. It's just not what they do. That's not a federal crime. So it's one of those tricky situations where they're like, "What would you do about crime?" I wish someone on stage would have said. Crime is mostly a local issue. So you should really get out there and like, it's important for you to vote for your local DA.
No one's going to say that, Blake.
But they should, because they can be like, I can only do so much as president.
But they're not going to say that.
I know, but we keep giving people false expectations. And then when they can't deliver them because it's not legal to do so, they punish them for not doing the thing they promised to do.
Well, I thought Christie's answer was
I think Christie's was a little bit better just because he was like, saying, look, I did this as a federal prosecutor. This is what I do. I can do this. I can't do that. But I think Ron's answer was great too. I just wish more people would say, hey, this is very, very complicated. I'm just going to skip the Vivek stuff. Who cares? He should go away. I know. I realize people like him. He's just such an empty suit.
And I don't like, after the first debate, it's all I heard was Vivek and like crickets. Like, I don't see him on news clips anymore. I don't see him as much on Twitter. Like,
I feel like he kind of peaked.
Yeah. For sure. I think he peaked.
I think people just realize this is...
That he's a phony, I think, too.
Yeah, and I want him so badly to not be, though, because I really would love, like, a young, like, really articulate... Like, he's really good smart. He's really smart. Yeah. He's really good at talking back at people that are, like, coming at him with some sort of attack. Now, it sounds pretty, and a lot of times, like, if you really dissect it, it's not great, but he's good enough at it that on live television, people aren't smart enough to come back at him with a rebuttal. If you, like, sit there and look at it, you're like, wait, what did he really say? Nothing, It's just a bunch of, like, buzzwords and stuff, but he's still really good at it, and I wish he was really good at policy stuff, because I would love to get, like, a sub-50-year-old person in the GOP that people were excited about. Like, it would be nice to have someone like Obama on our side, Yeah,
I don't think that's going to be him.
No, it's not him. It's not him for sure. It's definitely not him. But I wanted it to be. It just is not. I think this is one of Haley's good answers, actually, on healthcare. So here you go.
First of all, how can we be the best country in the world and have the most expensive healthcare in the world? We have an issue. My mom was in the hospital, and when she was in the hospital, they tried to bring her a couple of Tylenol, and she said, "I don't need it." And they said, "Honey, go ahead and take it because you're paying for it anyway." Why is it that when we got the bill, the insurance company and the hospital negotiated the bill for her without her having anything to do with it? When I am president, we will break all of it, from the insurance company to the hospitals to the doctor's offices to the PBMs to the pharmaceutical companies. We will make it all transparent, because when you do that, you will realize that's what the problem is. Second thing is, you've got to deal with tort law. The doctors don't give you the 10 tests because they want to. It's because of the 90% chance they'll get sued. And then we need to bring competition back to healthcare, get rid of certificate of need systems, and make sure that they can compete. We have to put the patient in the driver's seat, They've been in the back seat for way too long. And once we give the patient the ability to decide their health care, deciding which plan they want, that is when we will see magic happen. But we're going to have to make every part of the industry open up and show us where their warts are, because they all have them, and we need to fix this on behalf of the American people.
Yeah, that was a great answer.
It's a great answer. And like, for as complicated an issue as healthcare is, she managed to hit a lot of the points in like 1 minute, which I thought was really good, because healthcare is complicated.
Very.
And I feel like it's one of those things that it pulls at the top of, like, I mean, a lot of people care about it. It affects people's lives. People go bankrupt because of it, all this kind of stuff. And yet no one really has offered any real solutions to the problems. I mean, there's been a couple things in the last decade, like the price transparency stuff that is still really murky.
Right.
But that was hard enough to do, to be like, hey, you got to tell someone what the price of something is. And it's almost impossible still to get those actual prices. I've done this with like surgeries of like, I need the actual dollar amount. I'm going to pay you that and not a penny more. And it's impossible to get that kind of thing. So I do think that's a good answer. I like Doug's follow up, even though Doug doesn't have a chance.
30 seconds.
Well, yes, we're not talking about the real problem ever. We talk about why do we have the most expensive health care in the world? It's because the federal government got involved the same way they did with EVs, and they said, we're going to subsidize a particular kind of software back in 2008 under Obama, and they said, hey, we're going to do this. It's going to make everybody more productive. All of you that are watching have been to a doctor's office when the doctor's got his back to you and their hands on a keyboard. The only industry in the world that's ever absorbed $1 trillion of IT and became less productive, they saw less patients per day, is U.S. healthcare, because they were subsidizing a certain kind of technology. It wasn't about improving healthcare. It was about picking winners and losers. Every time the federal government's involved, whether it's higher education, healthcare, or now the auto industry, things get more expensive and less competitive.
Yeah. No.
That's a perfect answer for like everything I complain about. It's like every time the federal government gets in the middle of stuff, that's why things get more expensive. You look at the things that have gotten expensive: healthcare, college education, and they're the things that the government has like either picked winners or losers or has certain rules around. And but it's just, again, something that like, I'm like, yes, exactly. That's what we should be talking about. But it feels like a policy debate when most of the GOP voters are into a cult of personality or who could I have a beer with, as opposed to thinking like about the real things that affect their everyday lives. Healthcare affects everyone.
I did see a lot of good feedback on Burgum after the debate.
No, I think I liked all of his answers.
Yeah.
I don't think he has a chance. I don't think North Dakota is the exact same thing, but he, like Ron, got to say, I did that, and he has. And so, I think that being the governor of a really small state is, not necessarily normally going to, it's unfortunately like just not going to launch a presidential campaign anymore. Right. I don't even think that, I don't even know if we'll have, so you go back to George W. Bush, that's Texas, humongous state. Obviously, Ron DeSantis, if he can sniff it, is from Florida, a gigantic state. California is, but I don't know that there's many states outside of the really populous ones that, like, I don't think we're going to see Bill Clinton governor from Arkansas ever again. Maybe not, unless someone's just super talented, but not running on that record.
Right. I'm trying to think if there are any rising governor stars.
Well, Youngkin is one, but Virginia is
Youngkin's a good one.
Virginia is so close to the hub of DC that like it becomes, and plus there's the red state, blue state thing. There's like him being a governor, kind of flipping that red. That's more of a narrative. So I think that's what it has to be, is like someone flipping a state. I don't think like Larry Hogan's another example of like a Republican governor in a traditionally blue state that you go, oh, well, that's interesting. Like, he's popular. Kasich was kind of like that in Ohio, although Ohio is a huge state where it's like, it's a popular Republican governor in a otherwise blue state where people go, yeah, he's done a good job. Like, the economy's good. Jobs are good. Most people are not so tribal that they don't recognize someone that does a good job when, like, yeah, my life is good.
Especially when it affects, your day-to-day life.
Yeah, and when you're in a state, that's how it works. And so I think he has done a good job in North Dakota, and I think his answers are really good, but I don't think he has a chance, and I think he's got to go, unfortunately. But again, he could be one of those people that comes out and goes, this is dangerous, and I'm going to get out because we've got to get behind someone that can beat Trump.
I hope so.
We'll see if that happens or not, but Here's another good Haley answer, I thought, on education.
Are you gonna get to the TikTok one?
I think it's hold on. Do I have the TikTok one? I might not have done it. I can't remember. I'll see. Here we go.
That's okay. I just thought she sounded silly with that question.
Was it when she said he was dumb? Like, I feel dumb every time you talk?
No, I thought I didn't mind that.
Okay.
Although I saw a lot of feedback on Haley was that like people did think she like wasn't very likable, like almost mean.
I think that's only like here's my point is if Chris Christie would have said it, would they said it was mean, or is it just because she's a woman?
I knew you were gonna say that, Blake. How dare you? That's just what I'm saying. People are saying.
No, but I'm saying, don't you think that's unfair?
Well, people said Vivek were mean last time. He's a man.
Right, but I think it happens more to women.
I mean, no one called anyone on the stage an idiot, but Nikki Haley.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, she said, I feel dumber.
Yeah. So.
And to be fair, his answer on TikTok was the dumbest answer I've ever heard.
I don't think her answer was great either. When she was talking about she just sounded kind of like a grandma.
Yeah, but I mean.
Talking about TikTok.
But she's right. I mean, it's super dangerous.
I agree. I'm just saying her answer just didn't sound very good.
His answer was so like, I mean, so one-dimensional in the sense that he was like, yeah, I'm doing it now so I can talk to young people, and then once I win, I'll get off of it.
Yeah, I know. No, his answer was pathetic.
So you're just faking it, like, or whatever. Yeah. And I think it was also a stupid question. They shouldn't have asked it. Stupid Again, question. This is a moderator thing where you'd be like, guys, why are we? I mean, I do think TikTok's an actual threat. Maybe I didn't have that clip.
Yeah, but people don't care. Like.
Yeah, I mean. I think they
don't care enough.
Should more. Yeah. Okay. I think education was a good area because I think education is something that could win or lose stuff now. I mean, you look at like what happened post 2020 and all the, people were pissed about education. And so I do think the education answers were pretty good, actually. I've got a couple I've got 3 of them here. So here's Haley's.
Well, and school choice isn't the only answer, but I'll tell you it's not out of a lack of trying that we didn't try and get school choice in South Carolina. What I'll tell you, first of all, is we have to acknowledge the fact that 67% of our 8th graders are not proficient in reading or math. Over 80% of our 8th graders aren't proficient in history or civics. And recently they came out and said our 12 and 13-year-olds are scoring at the lowest levels they've been scoring in reading and math in decades. So the first thing we've got to do is we've got to make sure we catch our kids back up. We have to make sure they can read. A child that can't read by 3rd grade is 4 times less likely to graduate high school. We need to do reading remediation. We need complete transparency in the classroom. No parent should ever wonder what's being said or taught to their child in the classroom. We need to make sure that we have school choice so that there's competition. We need to move all the programs from the federal government down to the states and let states decide what education looks like in their states. Right. And we need to start building things in America again. Let's put vocational classes back in our high schools and let's get our kids building the things that we know that we can make. When we start to focus on that and really bring in that parental involvement, that's when we'll start to see a difference. But we've got to get parents back included. We've got to quit spending time on this DEI and CRT and instead focus on financial literacy, on digital literacy, and on making sure that our kids know what they need to do to have the jobs of the next generation.
Good answer.
I like her answer. And I like that. Here's what I like about what she and Ron managed to do in this debate the most was like get the buzzwords in that are animating DEI, the GOP.
Yeah.
But in a
CRT,
real answer.
Yeah.
And juxtapose it with something like, hey, we need to get that out. And why are we not doing vocational training? Like we're talking about like CRT and we're not talking about like preparing them for real world job situations or financial literacy. And I think every parent goes, yeah. Like, I mean,
right.
Yeah, I want my kids to be. And so, I mean, I think the education stuff is where you can really hammer in a general election. It's just that I don't know. And the thing is, it's like Trump has no answer for anything education related whatsoever. I mean, I haven't heard him even say anything about education ever, maybe?
Not recently, no.
I don't know if I ever have. I liked Christie's answer too on teachers, again, unions, which is an easy thing to go after, but right. I don't feel like enough of the GOP is doing, especially with post-COVID. I feel like it would be a lot more easy to hammer, but here's Christie doing it.
But let's tell the truth to everybody about what this is. This public school system is no longer run by the public. It is run by the teachers' unions in this country. Randy Weingarten and her crew are absolutely strangling. They are taking the worst of their members and defending them rather than advocating for our kids. And when you have the President of the United States sleeping with a member of the teachers union, there is no chance that you could take the stranglehold away from the teachers union every day. They have an advocate inside the White House every day for the worst of their teachers, not for our students to be the best they can be. A President of the United States has to take on the teachers union. I did it in New Jersey, and I will do it as President of the United States.
Oh, that was a great answer.
Yeah, I thought that was a great answer too, but I missed the sleeping part.
The sleeping part I thought was
Saucy.
interesting because instead of just being like the president's
Married
wife,
to, yeah,
like,
so Jersey.
it made it
of him.
sound very scandalous.
Yeah,
and then
very
Pence tries to come
Jersey.
in with his "I've been sleeping with a teacher for 28
Oh my
years."
gosh, yeah. Okay, now so I did know that part. Yeah, that was awkward.
And I was like, why is Pence so like? And I think Pence is a genuine person.
I
but
do
I
too.
think, it's just like, dude,
He needs to
it's-
drop out.
You're kind of a relic, and you're too close. It's like you enabled Trump for 4 years, and then on one day you did the right thing, and we're
I
supposed to
know.
be like,
I
and-
know.
And I don't begrudge the people that tried to be adults and
No,
get in
me
there and help.
either.
I just don't think Pence pushed back enough. I think if he had, he'd have been fired.
Right.
And I think that's the proof that he didn't, is that everyone else, look at every other cabinet level or, anyone that left. Really, Haley's the only one that left unscathed. Everyone else, because she saw
Yeah.
the writing on the wall. I'm
Right, and left
confident.
early, yeah.
And left early. But everyone else got, like, it's deep state now or whatever. It's like, these people were deep state the whole time. It's like, well, so you hired them? I'm so confused on that argument. But I just feel like this specifically was a good little jab of, on Biden. But yeah, Pence is not necessarily doing it. And then Ron had a really good education answer too. And I think education is like, GOP should go all in on talking about education. I think it's the
I
thing that
agree.
animated
Like
parents in
Youngkin.
2020, like Youngkin did.
Yeah, I think that's
And
how he won.
Youngkin's now trying to win. I mean, Youngkin's on a mission to like turn the state legislature in Virginia to red so he can actually get some stuff done.
Right.
And if he does that, he'll be the only, like, him and Brian Kemp are the only Republicans doing anything in this country.
Oh, Brian Kemp is another, I think, would be
Brian Kemp's
good.
great. Yeah. I think mostly because he's stood up when he's done the right
Yeah.
thing the whole time, And
Yeah.
now he's lately said a couple things. I think recently he said he would vote for Trump if it was Trump versus Biden. And I just think, like, how can you say that?
So would I, Blake.
I would not. I can't vote. I cannot. I think he's I just hope it's not the two
I
of
mean,
them.
I hope it's not either Blake.
I cannot
but
vote for
if-
them. I cannot vote for either one of them. I think Trump's is dangerous, and they're both very dangerous for two totally different reasons.
I think all the Republican candidates said they would vote for Trump. if
They
it
all
came down.
had to, but Brian Kemp doesn't have to. He's not on this stage.
I know,
he didn't
but I
sign a
think-
loyalty pledge.
I think I've heard a lot of Republicans say
But
that.
if you want to get rid of Trump, more Republicans have to say no. We will kill the hostage. I think they have to.
Maybe.
You will never get rid of him if everyone just falls in line and votes for him. If that's what the end solution is, like, I think more people have to go, no, not gonna do it.
Yeah.
Those people are all quitting or leaving the party though. It's
Yeah.
Mitt Romney. It might be Mike Pence. He, like, his little speech about populism versus stuff seemed to indicate he might be one of those people that says we gotta say no. Maybe he could has a separate moment to do so. Okay, here's Ron's education thing. Anyway, I got on a tangent. Sorry.
Here's the deal. Our country's education system is in decline because it's focused on indoctrination, denying parents' rights. Florida represents the revival of American education. We're ranked #1 in the nation in education by U.S. News and World Report. My wife and I, we have a 6, 5, and 3-year-old. This is personal to us. We didn't just talk about universal school choice. We enacted universal school choice. We didn't just talk about Parents' Bill of Rights. We enacted the Parents' Bill of Rights. We eliminated critical race theory, and we now have American civics and the Constitution in our schools in a really big way, just like President Reagan asked for in his farewell address back in 1989. Florida is showing how it's done. We're standing with parents, and our kids are benefiting.
I think it's a
answer.
great answer.
Great answer.
And I, again, you get to go, I did it.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good answer. No, and keep in mind, I'm not saying it can't be right. I'm just saying it worries me a little bit. Sometimes the Ron Trump kind of stuff going on, But I'm with you. I think it has to be Haley or I'm with Haley or DeSantis. Either one.
Blake,
I know it drives you crazy.
Haley.
But I think that was a great answer.
Like
for
if
Ron.
she's polling in the single digits, when will you dump her?
They're all single digits right now. Hold on, what are the most recent polls? Let's look at it.
Ron's not single digits.
Let's look at real. Okay, let's see. Hold on, let me mark this real quick. So, okay, let's see. Election 2024. Let's look at some polls real quick. Okay, so let's look at national. National is Trump 56, DeSantis 13, Haley 7, Ramaswamy 5. Okay, which, like I said, national doesn't matter, but it's just worth noting. Okay,
right.
and then and then Iowa, Trump 49, DeSantis 16, Haley 9, Ramaswamy 7.
Single digits, Blake.
You're right. That is single digits. You're right. New Hampshire, Trump 44, Haley 13, DeSantis 10, Christie 9.8, 10 basically. So
Christie has got to drop out by New Hampshire.
If he's fourth in New Hampshire, I think he's got to be gone before that happens. If it looks like he's pulled, but then again, and then South Carolina doesn't have anything. Biden. Okay, so that's all Democrats, so that doesn't matter. Okay, so those are the ones that are up here, and then. Oh gosh, this is interesting. RCP betting averages. President Trump 33, Biden 30, Newsom 8, Obama, like Michelle, I guess, is what they're putting in here. Anyway, these are kind of so I mean I agree. Now, but I don't care about polls until they're interesting. I don't think they matter until November, December.
Okay,
like,
well,
really.
November's
it's next month. I agree.
Yep.
So that's what I'm saying. I think we see October 15th fundraising stuff.
Okay.
Next debate hopefully is whittled down. Hopefully it's we've got 3 or 4 tops.
Yes.
I would really just like to see. I'd really like to just see Haley, DeSantis, maybe Christie in there. I would take those 3.
Yeah.
But and then Tim Scott had a much better debate, I thought. But I love Tim Scott, but he's got to go.
He's got to go.
He doesn't have a path, I don't think, especially with Haley, because they're both from the same state. So one of them's got to be out for South Carolina, in my opinion. And to me, he doesn't have the momentum, and I would just save the money for later. And you can run for president in 2028 if we lose, which we probably will at this point. So, but he did have one answer I really liked, and I felt like we got to.
I also thought he looked awful.
You think so?
Oh, I thought the lighting was actually bad on all. I thought they all looked bad. Like the lighting.
Well,
was
like I said,
really
this
bad.
is not a studio; it's a big glass box, so it kind of makes sense.
But yeah, I thought he looked bad.
I thought this answer was really good, though. But like I said, he's not. I think he needs to probably get out in the near future.
So often we think that all the issues, you talked about crime and education and healthcare, we always think that those issues go back to slavery. Here's the challenge, though. Black families survived slavery. We survived poll taxes and literacy tests. We survived discrimination being woven into the laws of our country. What was hard to survive was Johnson's Great Society, where they decided to put money, where they decided to take the black father out of the household to get a check in the mail, and you can now measure that in unemployment, in crime, in devastation. If you want to restore hope, you've got to restore the family, restore capitalism, and put Americans back at work together as one American family.
Oh, that was a great answer. I liked it.
It was okay. I don't know. I don't like his delivery. Like I think he sounds very, very rehearsed.
I think he just sounds like a preacher all the time. I think that's what he sounds like on any interview I see him in and stuff. I don't feel like it feels like rehearsed. I feel like it feels.
To me, it felt very rehearsed.
I like him. I mean, I agree. He needs to get out.
Him.
I like him, but I mean, I think he needs to get out. But it was a good one. Ron on Ukraine. I mean, we get to like foreign stuff, which I thought was interesting. I wish they did more foreign stuff, honestly, because I feel like that is an important thing, especially right now with all the stuff that's going on between Ukraine and Russia and China and Iran. And I mean, really, it even affects. Honestly, there's a foreign policy aspect to the fentanyl and the Mexican and the immigration and stuff. So to me, the foreign policy thing matters a lot. And they did talk a fair amount of foreign policy, but it felt like maybe not quite enough. Like I'd like some more nuance, especially on the Ukraine stuff. But here's Ron's answer on it.
Today, the Republican Party is at odds over aid to Ukraine. The price tag so far is $76 billion. But is it in our best interest to degrade Russia's military for less than 5% of what we pay annually on defense, especially when there are no U.S. soldiers in the fight?
It's in our interest to end this war, and that's what I will do as president. We are not going to have a blank check. We will not have U.S. troops, and we're going to make the Europeans do what they need to do. But they've sent money to pay bureaucrats' pensions and salaries and funding small businesses halfway around the world. Meanwhile, our own country is being invaded. We don't even have control of our own territory. We have got to defend the American people before we even worry about all these other things. And I watch these guys in Washington, D.C., and they don't care about the American people. They don't care about the fentanyl deaths. They don't care about the communities being overrun because of this border. They don't care about the Mexican drug cartels. So as Commander-in-Chief, I will defend this country's sovereignty.
He didn't really answer the question, in my opinion. I don't love this is my least favorite answer from him from the whole night.
It's a complicated
Where are you
question.
at on that? Yeah.
You know, and he's gotten in trouble answering Ukraine before. I think he did answer it well. I'll end the war, which is what I think
right, but
Republicans
I want to hear
want.
But I want to hear everyone can say that. Ramaswamy said it too. Trump is saying it. Like, I want to hear what your specific plan is, especially with something as complicated as this.
He only has a minute to answer it.
I know, but give me what I don't like about this answer that he and this is not just a dig on Ron DeSantis, because really a lot of them are answering it this way. I don't like the answer of how could we be spending that money in Ukraine when we've got this problem here? And it's like the federal government does a lot of different things. We can't just move all of our focus to one problem at a time. We can do multiple things at the same time. Now, I'm not saying we can't have a debate about what to do in Ukraine. I'm just saying I don't like the answer that we shouldn't be spending money over there because we've got this fentanyl problem here.
But I think it's a popular answer because that's what people are asking, because people don't get that.
Yeah,
so he's answering to people that are like, how are we spending all this money in Ukraine but we have problems here? Like,
that's not what a leader is supposed to do. And she softballed the question to him by saying, isn't it probably worth less than 5% of our military budget to seriously weaken Russia's military because they're a threat to us? Like, it's a softball. It's like, yes, it is worth spending a little bit of money without any troops on the ground. Because I don't Ukraine is complicated.
Yeah.
And it's not should we do it, should we not? To me, there's all sorts of there's a lot of nuance there. And I just feel like we're trying to tell people that we, being these politicians, are trying to tell people it's like, oh, we can't do that and this at the same time. They're trying to deflect from it. And that's the answer from a lot of GOPers is like, well, how can we be doing that when we're not spending this money? And I just think someone needs to get up and say, hey, this is pretty good, dollar wise. And Tim Scott had a good answer after it where he said hey, 90% of it is supposed to be paid back to us by the European, our NATO allies and stuff. It's a loan and we're keeping our troops off. And guess what happens if Russia gets through Ukraine and goes to Poland? We're going to have to go put our troops in there. Your sons and daughters are going to go to war. So to me, that was a better answer. And I want that from Ron DeSantis because I know he knows that. And I feel like this is one thing where he's not being genuine and he's trying to play to a base that I think in the grand scheme of things, no one's going to not vote for him if he's the nominee over Biden because of, I don't know, because he's not anti the Ukraine stuff enough. And it's also just a weird thing because I feel like the only reason the GOP is even remotely anti the Ukraine stuff is because Trump is somehow pro-Putin. It doesn't make sense to me. This was the only answer of his the whole night that I really was like,
I didn't
really
hate
didn't
it,
like
and I understand why he answered that way.
Yeah. No, I get why he answered that way. I just don't think it's leadership. I wish that more
disagree.
People. Yeah, that's fine. That's totally fine if we disagree. I like Tim Scott's answer on it. I'm just being, and like I said, Dana tried to softball pitch it. Don't you think it's kind of worth the ticket price to
I know, but if he says yes, then it's oh, DeSantis is for Ukraine. Yeah,
but you could say it in a way where it's like what Tim Scott said. I think it's good to understand what the alternative is that if we just pull out of there and Russia steamrolls Ukraine, they're probably not going to stop. And so if we don't have a plan to stop Russia from going past Ukraine, then we got to support Ukraine. I think that's the better answer, is to be like, we should support Ukraine unless we have a better plan for keeping Russia out of NATO. I think Haley said something
like that too.
Yeah, she did. She said something similar to that, which I think that it is a complicated issue. You could spend a whole hour just talking about that. And I wish that we had more forums where people would ask those kind of questions, because I think they do matter. But, and then I think this was a good Ron hit on Trump. Again, I wish he would have been doing this for a lot longer than the last month or so, but here's his answer on kind of going after Trump a little bit on his pro-life stuff.
Same way we did in Florida. We won the greatest Republican victory in a governor's race in the history of the state, over 1.5 million votes. We were winning places like Miami-Dade County, Palm Beach, that nobody thought was possible because we were leading with purpose and conviction. I reject this idea that pro-lifers are to blame for midterm defeats. I think there's other reasons for that. The former president, he's missing in action tonight. He's had a lot to say about that. He should be here explaining his comments to try to say that pro-life protections are somehow a terrible thing.
I think it's a great answer.
Great answer.
The only thing I wish he would have added is like, I don't know, another jab about like, I won my election. I don't know. I wish he kind of did it, but I wish he would have been like, I won, unlike Trump. I think that like that message has to start getting across.
I do too. I just heard I forget what interview, but he said something like, well, that's because Trump lost Georgia. Like listed those states that Trump lost.
Yeah. And I think that I just wish more people have done it for longer. I think they're finally starting to realize they have to do it. But it's like everyone's pretending some external force is going to force Trump out of this race.
I wish there was.
I just don't think there is one. I don't think indictments are doing it. I don't think a conviction will do it. I think we could very well have a convicted felon of multiple felony state and federal charges versus a guy that might die during the campaign next year.
I will be in a mild depression if that happens.
Well, I mean, it's going to be, you think 2020 was chaos. That's what I'm worried about, is like, it only takes a couple of crazy people to do really bad things. And I think Trump's encouraging that. I think that's the other thing that's super dangerous about Trump, is that he's encouraging violence. And I think that most normal people go, obviously, like, that's not going to convince you or probably anyone we know to be violent. But for someone that's like a little unhinged or not mentally well, I think that stuff is, and it's happening on both sides. I mean, it's like the baseball field shooter was a Bernie guy, and obviously January 6th was Trump's people, and you got Black Lives Matter stuff that was, and it's people riling people up with this rhetoric of like, oh, you know, and the abortion thing is a good example of that, of like, there's a lot of people on the left that are doing a lot of hyperbole on that kind of stuff too, and encouraging violence. You've seen a lot of it towards Christian pregnancy centers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's bad. And I worry that we're heading towards that kind of situation in 2024. Plus, it could just be that like both these old dudes like fall and break their hips, and we go, oh, what have we done?
That's why I'm trying to get us all behind DeSantis Blake. He is the only one who can save us.
I want to see, like I said, I really do think that okay, not anyone on the stage.
Blake, single digits. They're all in single digits but him.
Right, but he's barely over single digits most of it.
Blake,
I know.
We have to pick someone.
I know we do.
He's the front leader.
But I want to see him run the campaign well for at least another month.
Blake, what more can you add? What more can he do? He's gone on all the other opposing shows. He's gone on interviews. His ground game in Iowa is great. Like, I don't know what else he can do.
I think
you're asking too much of the man, Blake.
I just want to see some sustain. I just want to see that sustained for a little bit longer. That's all. Because what bothered me is that a year
Blake,
ago...
October. I'm going to give him October for you.
Yeah, through the end of... or mid-November, I'd even say.
My gosh, Blake.
No, I'm just saying, because that's when I'm saying everyone needs to get around one person. Because I think by the end of November...
Blake, you need to get behind him November 1st.
I will if it... I will, like, first of all, I have no control over this, because it will not be the case that I hope I'm wrong. I don't think it's not really going to happen that they're all going to drop out and get around one person. I want that to happen. I hope that they all serve their country correctly.
I would hope so too.
By doing that. But if short of that happening, what it's going to boil down to is when it comes to your state you're just gonna have to vote for the person that you think has the best chance of winning your state. I mean, I think that that's what it's gonna boil down to when it actually happens. I think you're gonna have to, in Iowa, when Iowa happens first, if Ron DeSantis is in second place in Iowa or whatever, I mean, like if any state where Trump is in first place, everyone's got to get behind the person that's in second place. Like that's just what has to happen.
I think they need to do that before, but yeah.
I think so too. I just think that maybe everyone will get out after those first three, but like to me, it could be too late at that point. If Trump wins the first few, he's going to snowball. It's just like 2016. It's essentially like 300,000 votes in 3 states that start that momentum where you couldn't get it back. And that's just such a small percentage of the population that I don't know. It feels kind of hopeless, but I'm hoping that, I guess after all of this felt like nothing changed. Even though I thought like the answers are good on this, I like that we talk more about policy. It just feels like it didn't move the needle in a situation like, because more like if everyone else would have crashed and burned and only one person like dominated, like maybe that's fine. Like I think Ron did way better than he did on the first debate. And I don't think it's like he did bad on the first debate. He just kind of disappeared. He didn't stand out. And I think he stood out a little bit more now, but he didn't stand out so much that that people weren't talking about other people, because people were talking about Christie and people were talking about Haley and people were even talking about Doug Burnham and stuff. Not in a real, but like, just about their answers.
Yeah, it's hard when there's so many on stage.
It's too many people.
And it's hard when Fox isn't giving you enough questions.
Yeah, I would love them to adopt our debate format. No audience, Kyron at the bottom, and
muting the
buttons,
mics, yeah.
And interrupting the candidates to say, that's not what I asked you. I did not ask you that. I asked you this. Answer the question. But I don't have a lot of hope that things will change before that next one. But the one thing that's going to change is that there's a bunch of the really rich donor people that have so far not backed anyone because they didn't want to waste their money.
Right. And
so the people I read that are smarter about this kind of the way this stuff works, I think that there are some, like the Koch brothers or that whole giant pile of money is waiting to find the best person that can beat Trump. They're not just like picking a horse in May of 2023. So I do wonder if that's going to pick up now, or I'm more realistically probably after those quarterly finance stuff in October in a couple weeks. So we'll see. And if all those people start flooding towards one person, maybe it can. Maybe it's like that donor class starts going towards someone, and maybe that starts other people realizing, hey, this is futile. There's no more money coming my way. I should just get out. And enough. So that's my only other hope, is that if they don't do it themselves, that someone gets flooded with enough money that it's obvious that no one else is going to get flooded with that money. So I don't care who it is. Like, if that's Ron, great. I thought a year ago Ron was the person that was best suited to beat Trump, but then I just felt like he fell flat after winning just such a gigantic re-election.
Yeah.
To me, that was I was like, I would immediately be talking about how I'm a winner. I won by 19 points.
He did.
I know, but I'm saying last November, I would have been talking crap on Trump. Because even if you weren't saying Trump, I would have been like, yeah, well, the difference is I won by 19 points and he lost his election. And so who do you want to back? Like someone that is going to win and get the policy things that you want and fight, not just fight, but win. Because what's the point in fighting if you don't win? I think he should have been saying that kind of stuff. Even if it was subliminally against Trump, just like, yeah, fighting's pointless if you don't win, and I'm getting wins. He was so hesitant to like offend Trump's base that like a year ago, I think a lot of people felt that like it's gotta be Ron. Now, a year ago, I would have been like, and I said this, most of the time, the person we're talking about 2 years out from election.
You did say that to me, and I think you're wrong.
I might be. I'm happy to be. That's fine. I predicted that I thought neither Trump or DeSantis would get the nomination a year ago.
You did say that to me, and I said you're wrong, Blake.
And I might be so wrong that Trump gets it. I thought for sure I thought it might not be either one of them, but I'm fine with being wrong if it's Ron. I don't like being wrong if it's Trump, but
Yeah, no, me either. But yeah.
All right, so next one is in November, next debate. I also think that we're at a point where most people have not even paid attention to this yet. I mean, it's hard to know, but I think most people are not paying attention to this yet. And so I think it's going to take, another month before people really start paying attention, which is, I get that people are probably exhausted by this stuff and they're not junkies like you and I, but we will keep you apprised. So just come back, listen to us. I'm sure we'll do one for the next debate too.
I would love to.
All right, thanks for coming on, Mackenzie.
Thanks, Blake.
See ya.